Malo Lele, good morning. Welcome again to this program from Lo'au University. And during this series, we're talking about the beginnings of Lo'au University, how it started from Lo'au Research Society. And those of you who caught the last session that we did, which is a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the beginning, how it started through Lo'au Research Society. Welcome this morning. I'm here with Professor Siosiua Lafitani. My name is Luseane Lafitani, and we're here to talk to you again about the ongoing things that are happening at Lo'au and what you would expect if you visit us at Lo'au, not only on our website, but at the university in Tonga, here in Canberra, wherever it would be. So, welcome again. Today, it's a beautiful day here in Canberra. As you may well know, we have experienced a lot of fires, and there are still a lot of fires going on here in Australia. Canberra has not had any major fires. We've had small ones, but we've been affected greatly by smoke from all the fires surrounding us here in Canberra. So wherever you are, I hope you're breathing well, and be grateful for being able to do that. I wake up in the morning now and I'm grateful that I'm waking up and I can breathe. And I think of all my fellow Australians who are somehow badly affected by fires, and we think of them. Anyway, without further ado, I'll just go back on our conversations from last time. We talked about the beginning here in Australia, how it started, and also we ended up with us being in Tonga at the opening of Lo'au University, which happened at the campus of University of the South Pacific. So anyway, I think, Siosiua, what I wanted us to sort of carry on today is about, we talked towards the end of our conversation about thinking, about our philosophy at Lo'au University, which is to teach a student how to think. And I would like you to talk more about what that philosophy is. What sort of thinking are we trying to teach the students? As I said before, I think that I can think, but there is a different type of thinking that we're talking about at Lo'au. Thank you, Siwa.
Thank you, Luseane, for the introduction. And as you partly mentioned, that the philosophy of Lo'au University is education for thinking.
That's right.
And since the beginning of civilization and the beginning of education in Greece, in ancient Greece, thinking has been one of the fundamental and very important concepts in education.
Mm-hmm.
And without thinking, education has no meaning. And that's why from the beginning of Lo'au University, we accepted, as Professor Inoke Fotuakau proposed, the philosophy, education of thinking, we all accepted in the board of trustees after we discussed how very important thinking is. Thinking for us, for Lo'au University, is far more crucial than any issues under consideration. Because without thinking, man can't do anything at all.
Mm.
Without thinking, we are useless, we are meaningless. And when we look back, by just recalling, when we discuss the the philosophy, Enoch suggested a few key people, few key scholars. Firstly, Aristotle in Greece. Secondly, Martin Heidegger. And also, thirdly, about the Lo'au, Lo'au lineage in ancient Torah. Let us have a look at Aristotle. Aristotle believed that one fundamental issue that differentiates us from other living things and other things in nature and the cosmos is our ability
To
to
think.
think. And he discusses that in detail in some of his works. He used the word that philosophers mostly use is about Aristotle's view on this matter is rationality. For Aristotle, to be short, rationality is one of the main attributes that differentiates or distinguishes us from other living things. For Martin Heidegger, our main role as mentor or teacher or lecturer is to ensure that we let it go, the discussion, the encouragement, the teaching of students to let it go so that they can be able to think.
I think
Without thinking,
yes.
as I said, education, civilization has no meaning, meaningless.
I think what I would like then now to take us to is all of us, or most of us humans, feel that we can think, right? So I think what Lo'au is talking about is a different way of thinking, rationality, and all that sort of stuff. I remember I remember someone saying, well, I can't fix something unless I can think about what I'm trying to fix, how to fix it, what tools I need, etc., etc. Now, I think Lo'au University is talking about a different way of thinking and rationalization in order for the student to think, to clarify deeply in his or her mind, apart from just the normal, what I mean is normal day-to-day thinking. What is the difference between our normal day-to-day thinking and the thinking that you're talking about? I know that Ardenisi talked about critical thinking as their philosophy. And I think critical thinking, what Lo'au is doing is trying to enlarge or discuss that in a more thorough way, because you need to be able to think in order to be able to critically think or discuss any issue. What is the difference between my day-to-day thinking and the thinking that you're wanting to teach the students at Lo'au?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we also derived our philosophy of education from the ancient Lo'au's view about thinking as well. So we have here Aristotle, we have here Martin Heidegger, we have Descartes, who also said, I think, therefore I am. It's about the concept of ontology or existence.
So what Descartes is saying there, I'm sorry to butt in. So what he's saying, I think, therefore I am, is he meaning that because he's human, because he is, therefore he's thinking anyway?
Yeah, he was a rationalist, an idealist, which is a reflection in his words. It's a reflection of his idealistic, rationalistic view that the mind is the key for everything. I think in his term, therefore I am.
And then to Martin Heidegger's view on thinking, I know because you've talked at length to us during, seminars about Martin Heidegger. Is there a difference between his beliefs or his philosophy then?
Yeah, one main key factor in Heidegger's, he said, we don't know how to think, and we are not thinking.
And
he awakens
yes.
us from sleeping. He challenges us, that we are not thinking at all. And his work, like other German idealists, are very rationalistic. Like Descartes is, French, but they are connected in some way with the idealistic and the rationalistic viewpoint to education, to life in general. Right? So,
because I think if memory serves me right, with Martin Heidegger, with all the conversations and we've had about him, all the way through he's saying, okay, this is what you need to do, A, B, and C. And then when we got to C, then he'll say, you're still not thinking. So I think I'm wondering whether with Heidegger, doesn't matter how we as humans exercise and try, we will never ever reach the ultimate way of thinking, which is, I guess it's true. When you think about how much of our brain we're using, scientists are saying that we're only using a very minimum, a very small part of our brain. So if we were able to totally use our brain, maybe we might reach what Martin Heidegger is saying about thinking.
Yeah, but I would like, exactly. But I would like to come back to your question. Here are all great minds,
Yes.
philosophers about thinking. And Socrates, has his own ideas. Professor John Anderson, Hiko, and others, among others, even Professor Halaevalu, that we, we're students of him. So, but with the Lo'au, come back to the practicality and the theoretical nature of thinking that you asked before. What's the difference between thinking in the languages of these philosophers, which they touch the practicality and the theoretical basis of thinking, their distinction, their relation, and the Lo'au philosophy of education for thinking.
I guess what I was just thinking about whilst you were talking, we're actually creating this foundation. It's like building a house. You need a great, strong foundation for that house to last, long. So what Lo'au is doing is creating a foundation of thinking so that the student can build and build and build his or her knowledge to, I guess, wherever he may take that to. So that foundation of thinking is extremely important. So that's our foundation. So when I think about Futahelu and Atenisi, that amazing man and his teachings and his amazing students, which you are one of, his conversations about and totally teaching you guys about critical thinking, I think thinking that we're talking about is the basis of that, is the foundation of that. From that thinking, we can get to a place of critically thinking and making decisions about things that we learn every day. So I feel that Lo'au is somewhere before the critical thinking. That's how I see it anyway, as you're talking. You need this base, this foundation of thinking.
You correctly mentioned, Lucy, to come in, the foundation. Foundation. And when we look at, take Lo'au University firstly, and then I'll follow up with the Adenisi issue of thinking, of criticism. The foundation, the social structure, or the foundation of thinking in Lo'au is the curriculum, the core curriculum, the courses, and all those detailed resources of the university. It's an online university, and it has, and there is a philosophy or aim. And the aim is, or the philosophy, for that matter, is education for thinking.
Thank you.
And then the methodologies, how we approach, how we get it to our aim of education for thinking. We used, the Socratic method of questioning, of criticism. They are methods of inquiry. And we are the same with Adenisi and the Socratic view of education, that we are all one in the belief that education is the search for knowledge.
Absolutely.
We all the same.
Absolutely.
And we are different in the sense that we promote the aim of education is education for thinking. So we have added in something new to the discussion.
Yes.
Instead of
furthering
the
discussion, which is how all great things happen. I think if you have a teacher, then you have a student. That student must extend that knowledge in his or her way. And that is one way of honoring your teacher, is to extend that thinking, which I really think that's what Lo'au is doing, is extending that thinking from Adenisi.
Because we have added, as you mentioned, we have added in, instead of education in searching for knowledge, we have suggested education is also for thinking.
Which I think,
and
on
then
one
the
level,
method of inquiry, criticism comes in.
Absolutely. Which I think is like a first step. How about let's learn to think? Then we can be critical in our thinking. Then we can, so it's just a continuous search and for knowledge.
Criticism and thinking and searching or inquiry, they are overlap and intertwined terms in research. So with the Lo'au, we have the aim as also the method. And we have the aim of it, of thinking. We also have that as the method for inquiry. And within thinking of whakakaukau in Tongan or Vavanga, we have other terms. So now I'm trying to link to Tongan context and Lo'au's view, ancient Lo'au's view. We have whakakaukau, which is thinking, or Vavanga in its extreme sense. And we have related terms like fekeri, hakiri, bakiri. They all about searching, searching, inquiry.
Which I think during this series, I think there'll always be a part in each episode of talking about thinking and where the thinking is, and the Tongan notion of thinking, maybe the other civilizations conversations about thinking. So I think we will always include thinking in our talk. I think where I want to go to now is actually to do with the way Lo'au is run in Tonga.
Can I just touch one point before before we continue, please. About your question, you asked before, what's the difference between normal thinking and thinking in the Lo'au context? And to quickly add into that, thinking in the Lo'auan sense has two senses: the practical sense and the theoretical or the philosophical sense of thinking of Whakakaukau. But as you mentioned, we'll go back to that.
Absolutely. Anyway, back to what I was going to go to is going back to how Lo'au is run. Now, we talk about the student having appointments. We also talked about the importance of our seminars that are run in Tonga. Whilst we're in Tonga, Siosiua runs weekly seminars. So there's 2 a week, which is Tuesday and Thursday evening from 8 p.m. to 9:30. Now, these seminars are quite important. They're also very, very different. I think having seminars for an online, totally online university is somewhat quite different. So I feel, when you do online studies at a university, all you have is your laptop or your computer, and that's how you connect with your supervisor or your teacher. Whereas at Lo'au, not only do you have your laptop in your connection via internet with your teacher or your supervisor, but you can also connect via the seminars in Tonga. You come in and the students are there. So there's Socratic discussions with the students. There's also people that come and visit. We have things like public lectures who come. So can you talk more about the reasons why you decided that seminars would be a good thing for Lo'au and how that is going at the moment?
Yeah, we started the seminar series in 2015. 2015. One main reason for running seminars, series, because we don't have normal or traditional classes.
Which is because we're online.
We are online. And also, Lucy, our seminar started last year. We broadcast our seminar live.
So last year,
internet.
They started to be online.
That's
so
right.
People could also watch them.
Yeah, from one of our students.
But your main reason for running seminars, was it because you just had time to do it, or was it because you felt that it would benefit the students by having these weekly seminars?
Yeah, because we don't have classes, so seminar helps them with their individual courses. And also in the seminar, I try or I talk about, and if our lecturers or supervisors or any from overseas come, talk about different issues in different fields. And some of the issues might relate to the students in Tonga and overseas, to the
field of study.
Courses and fields of study. Okay? So it's a more, it's an approach in a more broader way to help students.
It's very different.
Yeah, because we have different issues, different topics from different fields and run seminars. Different from public lectures.
Yeah, what I mean by different is that I think this would be the only totally online university in the world that run lectures or run seminars.
Seminars.
Which is, I think it's, the students are so lucky because you don't get that. You don't get that anywhere else. You only go to lectures at normal universities that have classes. That's when you have seminars and that's when you have lectures. But at Lo'au, you have the benefit of online university, totally online. You also have a greater benefit of being in contact with your lecturer who can talk and discuss lots of things, not only your field of study, but lots of other topics.
Yeah, and our two seminars, Tuesday mainly for lecturers and teachers. And Thursday, sometimes we give Thursday for students to come and run seminars about their individual fields of study. So, but in general, the two seminars are for lecturers. And then sometime students are allowed to present, to share, their views or their studies from their different areas. So, as you correctly mentioned, it's one way of us helping our students. Even so unique. Even we still run our normal appointments and our normal supporting programs for our students. But this is one of the supporting programs. The seminar series.
I think being an observer at Lo'au University for all these years, the thing that I've noticed most is when I go back to 2014 to when they started, and we had a group of students who sat and watched and didn't engage very much. Now, those students are discussing, they're talking. So not only have those seminars been beneficial in the way of their field of study, it has also taught these students to have a voice to be able to discuss and talk about their field of study or any field. I'm quite amazed at listening to some of the students when they talk about philosophers, the German philosophers, the Greek philosophers, as though they've been talking about them for years. So I think that's one of the main benefits that I see, is giving our students a voice to be able to discuss and to be able to talk about things that they've learned. And not only at Lo'au, but they've gone out there to other conferences and seminars and have been able to discuss things quite openly with confidence.
Yes, seminar encourages them, and we also encourages them to how to think, to learn to think, to learn to talk publicly, to present themselves, their expression, their presentation, either in the Tongan, because seminar is either in Tongan or English, but mostly in Tongan, but English as well, is encouraged. But also in the seminar, we teach them how to present, how to behave, how to deliver. We have four, seven principles.
That's my next question. So
because that's what we do in seminars. We teach how to talk critically, talk rationally, talk analytically, talk in a moral and respectful way. The whole package. We I teach them, and we teach them in the seminar program, apart from other programs. We're just talking here about seminar series.
I think because we've come to you teaching the students how to present your ideas very clearly and respectfully, not to be argumentative. Sio, can I ask you to go through the seven? It's
like seven principles of speaking or presenting,
of behavior,
seminar or discussion, in Lo'au, and we call it in Tongan language. The Tongan language, fono e fitu, fono seven, fitu seven. Fono e fitu, seven principles or seven laws of talking, or
even behaving
or
to
behaving, as a student, as an academic person, it applies to all. So the first one of the fono of the seven principles: do not argue or debate with anyone.
And in Tongan?
Oa e whakawhikiki. When you talk, when you discuss. Because with the belief in Lo'au and in the Tongan culture, we have derived the fono, the seven fono from Western or world civilization and also from Tongan civilization.
So many conferences I've gone to, Siwa, and it seems to be that academics mark themselves of knowing by arguing terribly. So what we're saying at Lo'au, you don't have to argue.
You can present your point, your view, in a very respectful, with clarity. And and in a very polite.
And with confidence.
And I also have learned that also from Professor Fugahelu. The way he talked, the way he presented his idea, very powerful, but still very polite. And
absolutely. And why would we think that if you had a big, loud voice, that you are right?
And I never saw Futa argued or debated with anyone in any conference or any public lecture.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
So first principle of Lo'au University: do not debate or argue.
No arguments.
No argument.
Okay. Next one.
The next one: highly respect the issue under consideration or issue being suggested by someone.
And in Tongan?
Fa'apapa e uhinga. Respect the issue.
Yes.
That's number 2.
Yes. That's very clear. Number 3?
Respect the person
absolutely
who has suggested the issue. Respect the issue, respect the person.
Or just respect any person within that dialogue or discussion.
You still discuss and
doesn't
talk,
matter what anyone says.
With respect.
Yes. Yes.
Don't belittle or don't devalue their points.
So in Tongan of respecting that.
Fa'apapa e uhinga, respect the issue. Fa'apapa ai tokotaha ne o mai uhinga. At the source of issue.
Absolutely. And the next one, please.
The next one.
We're up to number 5. Are we up to number 5?
4.
Number 4.
Number 4.
So we'll start again. Number 1 was?
No argument, no debate.
Number 2.
When you talk. Respect the issue.
Number 3.
Respect the source of the issue or the person.
Yeah. And number 4.
Speak straight.
And clear.
Speak straight and explain your view if you feel it's good enough and the right time to tell them straight about your viewpoint.
Of number 4?
Talanoa hangaton ke mo onio mea. About the truth. Tell the truth straight away if you feel or if you know that it's
what you believe to be.
That's number 4. Number
and
5, if you feel and sense that your idea or viewpoint can cause trouble in that given context, you better delay it or speak in a metaphorical or rhetorical
So in
way.
Tongan?
Ki heriaki. Ki heriaki uhinga ka pau o ke ongoi e hoko ai paraparema. And just
another way of speaking respectfully.
Indirectly or put it aside, and you can come back, when the people or, the main issue here is for you to work out how you can deliver still deliver your idea effectively, even if it's going to cause problem. That's number.
And it's that way again. There's always a way to speak about an issue. You don't have to be so straight up. You don't have to walk up and say, Siwa, you stole my bike.
That's right.
You can walk up to Siwa and you can say, Siwa, I can't seem to find my bicycle. Did you see it? So instead of instead of saying to you that
It's
I
a
know you
way
stole
of
my bike.
smartly and wisely manipulate language.
Yes.
And still
delivering the message.
the message
Yeah.
is delivered.
That's right.
That's
And the
whole
next
purpose. The number 6.
Mhm.
Listen very, very carefully. When
Listen.
someone when someone talks.
That someone spoke about that not long ago, about listening and proper listening.
Sometimes, most of the time, we don't listen.
That's
And
right.
we have our Tongan word, tala noa. Tala to tell, noa to be
The listener.
silent.
So
Noa
tala noa,
to be nothing.
one person ognefaya tala, talking.
Yeah, one person
One person
tells
noa.
Noa. No talk.
Okay.
Just
Tala noa.
listen.
That is so clever.
Tala and Noa.
Our language is so clever.
Yeah, that's what tala noa means, in one sense. So number 6 of our 7 principles, or fonofitu, I listen carefully when someone talks.
And if we remember growing up as children, and you're standing there, you've done something wrong, and your parents talking to us, and they're saying, "Are you listening?" And you're saying, "Yes." And then your parents say, "No, you're not. You're not listening." So I guess there is a listening, and there's you're listening, but you're not really taking in.
Taking
what?
notice.
Yes, taking notice.
Careful
listening.
Sometimes we pretend to listen, but we don't listen.
I think we all have done that. We've all pretended to listen.
So our 6th fono or principle: listen very, very carefully.
Yes, Siwa. Listen very carefully.
Thank you.
So number 7.
Number 7, which is the last fono, last principle. If you use one language clearly, and if you use another, in addition to that, another language, be clear when you switch from one language to another, to make sure that you pass from A to B, still make the audience understand what you are talking about. Sometimes in the Tongan context, we just talk in Tongan, switch to English, Tongan English, Tongan English, instead of saying you talk in English and then you say, in the Tongan language, we call it Then you explain. The whole point is to use the language clearly when you talk, whichever particular language you use.
Not to mix the languages up.
Not to mix in a very unorganized, disorganized way.
So in Tongan, for that fono?
Now, ake harea e taha ke mahino. Peka pau, oku ke toe ngawe, ak mo harea e taha, pe ai ke mahino, oku ie e te tala noa, peko e te lea. Make sure it's clear when you switch from one to another. But if you are in Tonga, for instance, talk in Tongan to the public. And if you want to use English, mention it. I'm going to use the English word is and then you come back. But focus on the tongue, focus in the Tongan language, because that's the main language. That's the language that can be understood by the majority.
So again, I think it's about clarity and making yourself understood in whatever language you're talking, and also trying to promote our language, Halaevalu.
That's right.
Because I think, I was thinking of Kiribati. The people in Kiribati have lost their language. So United Nations have come forward, and they, how they protect things so that it'll be relearned and try and get people to learn the language again. We don't want that to happen with our Tongan language.
Yeah, and also, Lucy, there is no language higher than another language. Logically, all language are the same.
You would think.
So when and all language can be used for thinking. So it's a way of reminding us that in the Tongan language we can still think deeply, profoundly about an issue and use it, and we can use Tongan language for research. Likewise in other languages.
I think
sometimes in Western colonization, the words in many crowns have, and from us as well, have inclined us to think that English language is better or higher than other languages. With Lo'au, no, that's not the view in Lo'au. In Lo'au, Tongan language, Fijian language, German language are all the same. And if you are Tongan, like in our context, we prefer to speak Tongan in class, in seminars, unless if we want to translate or to share with others.
I think what we're trying to...
all language are the same.
Yes, I think what we're trying to say at Lo'au, we're trying to promote our language and how important it is, especially with the young people, because nowadays I think a lot more English is being spoken in Tonga in various arenas. We notice that a lot of things that we turn the radio on, there's a big government function somewhere and it's all in English. So I guess there are reasons for why English has become quite prominent on our island. Initially, it was learned as a means of connection, as a means of us going overseas and being able to work and study, make it easier for us to be, connected to the other cultures. But now I think we've learned a lot of English. What we need to do is to bring up our knowledge of our Tongan language. I think that's what Lo'au is trying to do. Bring it up so that it's just as important for us and our children to speak our language like speaking another language. But your language should always be the most important. I think about living here in Australia, Siwa, and I've worked with lots of different people, lots of different families. What I've noticed about some of the main cultures here, like the Greek, Italian, the Chinese, Vietnamese, what happens in those families when the children are growing up? They are taught their indigenous language by their parents. That's what they speak from when they're born right up to the age of 5. Then they go to school, and that's when they learn the English language. Therefore, that child is bilingual. And being bilingual, as we know scientifically, it's very good for the brain. It exercises your brain. But these children do not know any English until they start school. Therefore, it's already in them. They never forget their language. So I think it's such a great thing because a lot of our children, they don't actually speak our language properly. So maybe that's another thing that we are going to look at more, is the reasons behind Lo'au's thinking philosophy, the reasons behind the language that Lo'au uses, what other programs are important for us to promote at Lo'au, and just other information that you may want to know. So I think we've gotten to that time, the end of this time of this session. So thank you very much for listening. And is there anything else you'd like to add, Siosiua, before we end this session?
Yeah, I think our next program will either continue with the historical development in Tonga, or we deepen the discussion of today about the issue of the philosophy of education for thinking.
I think we could
the
do
practicality
both.
and the theoretical
Absolutely.
side of thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us today. Time's flown very quickly. Thank you so much. And don't forget, you can connect with us on our website, on email. You can find all that information when you pop into the Lo'au website. Malo au bita o falahiatu. Until next time.
MALO.